Not now, Brian.
Oh, we're live.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to the Three Amigos podcast, dashforcenews.com, the number one news source for all things Dash. Bear with me 1 second. I'm getting a bit of feedback.
That's a little. You love the sound of your
Yeah.
voice so much, you have to have it replayed to you in real time. There we go.
The good news is that the Facebook feed is working.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Good thing. Always reminder, public service announcement to everyone out there: close your browser tabs.
Yeah, 1 sec. Right. Okay. Apologies about that. Wow. Okay. So, yes, welcome to the Three Amigos podcast, episode 2. And I would like to introduce my two fellow amigos. So, the first amigo I'd like to introduce is some people say that he was the inspiration for Dr. Claw in Inspector Gadget. However, I call him Brian. Say hello, Brian.
Hello, Brian.
And saving the best to last, some people say that on weekends he dresses up as Sherlock Holmes. However, I know this man, the myth, the legend, as Joel. Say hello, Joel.
Hello. Yes, I don't dress up. Whoever said that is full of it. I am, however,
Okay.
the man, the myth, the links. You could say that.
Yeah. Well, it's been a blockbuster week for news for Dash as usual. Okay, gents, what would you like to discuss first?
I'm still getting a lag on everybody's voice. I guess it's normal for everybody else. Is my voice lagging from the video?
Audio is fine. Ignore the latency on the videos. It's probably because we're broadcasting from our side. So
Yeah, you're
Yes.
good. Joel's is really bad, though.
Oh, is it, huh? Too much data going through.
Yeah, your voice is too beautiful.
No,
No, it's working now.
Yeah, so it seems like it's been one hell of a week for the proposal cycle. I mean, every so often we get a few good proposals going through, getting funded by the Dash Network. But this time through, wow, it's been quite an interesting spread of things. To begin with, I'd very much like to thank the Masternode owners for voting for the Dash Force to continue to be funded so we can continue to do awesome, fun, happy things like this. So thank you very much, Masternodes. We will definitely not disappoint. And then I've noticed there's been quite a few promotional / theatrical proposals that went through, right? So to begin with, Dash now has an Air Force, if one would call it that way. Yes. The Dash Racer submitted a proposal that was funded to have Dash branded wrappings on his aerobatic airplanes to do during air shows to race them, do all kinds of tricks, all that kind of stuff. And so we'll soon be able to take Dash to the air show crowd. And Cynthiast submitted a proposal for Circus City. Circus City is a circus festival that happens every other year in Bristol in the UK. And they are now taking on Dash as their exclusive sponsor. And supposedly this makes a lot of sense because a lot of people in the traveling performing groups don't have proper access to banking services or get underserved by banking because they travel from country to country and then they have a lot of different currencies to have to process. And it makes a lot of sense for something international like digital cash, like Dash, to really, really shine in that regard.
yeah,
What have you guys' favorite proposals been? Other than, of course, the Dash Force proposal. I already got called dibs on that one.
Well, I mean, just yesterday and today with the circus, the city circus. Sorry, it's the Circus City and the plane one. just from having them on the website today, those interviews were both fantastic, Joel. So great job on that.
Thank you.
People watching, if you've not been to dashforcenews.com and read those articles yet, please do so. I just think it's amazing. What other cryptocurrency is doing what we're doing right now? I remember a long time ago, Dogecoin used to, sponsor a NASCAR event at some stage. But I mean, look what our funding and our governance is able to achieve, and it's at a community level as well. It's amazing. We can fund all these amazing things. So I think people must be looking at us or in the other crypto sphere, just looking in on us, just saying, wow, look at what these guys are doing. And the thing is,
yes, or possibly possibly lack of understanding too. Maybe scorn. I can't be arrogant enough to believe that everyone who sees what's going on here is just like, wow, I wish we could too. There's a lot of people that just turn their nose up at it, say, what are these people? They're wasting their time. Crypto should be all about code and command lines and slow, expensive transactions and lack of usability. What are these people doing trying to make something that's accessible to the everyman? Right? So there's a little bit of that going on. And I'd like to point out, though, that despite all the wonderful proposals that have gone through, 83% of the total possible budget ended up being spent. So that still leaves, let's see what the Dash Vote Tracker says, about a couple $100,000 US, like $150,000 that was not created because there weren't proposals to take that money up, or rather that there were, but they weren't funded. And so that means that we are, as much as we're growing rapidly, we're growing faster than we can figure out what to properly do with the money. And that's a pretty incredible thing. Even if the price of Dash doesn't change, next block, that's another big pot of money that we just have available to just use up.
Yeah, so that was 30% that went to the core team this time round. So yes. That's a lot to 70%
yes.
to play with.
Under 25% of the total possible Dash to be allocated, around 30% of what was actually spent. So yeah, about 25% of the whole network's capacity for funding. So that's pretty good. That's pretty significant.
Yeah, I think we may have somewhat of a solution to help use up all the end of the budget if there's anything left over. Still kind of working on it. But other people have had different ideas about, things to do so we don't leave all that money on the table. And we'll be talking about it and introducing it a little bit later. We've got to work out some of the details first.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Right, okay. I've just seen a question from Joshua in the live chat. Joshua is typing, hello, sir. Big fan.
Yes.
Hopefully might get a guest article from him soon as well.
All right, so there's two different questions here. Mark, do you want to take one of them and I can take another?
Yeah, the first one's quite interesting. So can you comment on variable proposal fees, arguments for against redenominating one Dash to 1,000 Dash to avoid prices like...
And thoughts in the near future regarding crypto markets. Those are three questions.
So I can take... Is this like the Duffs? Like we was going to call them Duffs, weren't we, at one point?
Yes. So I could take the second one about the new denomination. Who wants to take variable proposal fees?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, we can discuss that. I mean, I don't have a solid stance on it, but let's have an open discussion about it. We can let's talk about that first, right? So Joel can collect his thoughts. So variable proposal fees. So at the moment, it's 5 Dash to submit a proposal. Now, back in the day, if you were doing it in January or December, when the price of Dash was obviously a lot lower, it was less of a commitment. And obviously now the price is I think it's $138. So 5 Dash is actually quite a big amount. Now, there's two ways you can look at this. There's one as a community user. Obviously, you want to see as many proposals as possible, right? And then there's the other side. There's the Masternode owner side, where where you have the ability to vote, put your votes on what you want to see, it's actually it's a growing task and more effort, because you have to go through all these proposals to vote yes, no, and you have to read all the details as well. So there are some master owners that prefer to just have high quality proposals coming through. So they're a proponent of saying keep the 5 dash, because that helps keep the smaller people down, so we get like the high quality content, whether it's business adoption proposals or just the high quality stuff. However, on the smaller scale, it's the barrier to entry is quite difficult from someone on a smaller level if they feel like they have something to offer. Now, interestingly, Dashforce have been talking, or actually it's been led by Brian at the moment, the conversations about how we can perhaps help some people out in the community if they have a proposal that's worthy, and that the community backs and likes as well, but they're having a bit of trouble. How we go about that, we're still discussing, whether it's a community poll or whatever, or if it's just feedback in general. I quite like the 5 dash limit at the moment. Obviously, there was a proposal that was put forward to bring the limit down to just 1 dash, but that didn't pass. So really, it's kind of already been decided, but obviously the conversation is never over, right? So we can always talk about these issues. So I would like to hear actually Brian's side on this, because he's got the biggest stake out of all of us, right? Us 3 individuals. Hope Brian doesn't mind me saying that, but he's been a master owner for a long time, so he probably has a more concrete, solid opinion on this. So Brian, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, and let me also add again that I have a package that will probably be arriving again today. My dog will go crazy, but I have to sign for it, so I may have to step out. Yes, the proposal, the verbal proposal, there's a whole kinds of stuff wrapped into that. We have a review committee proposal that's fixing to go into pre-proposal that will help deal with helping some of the smaller proposals get going. And an idea that I had in speaking with Bill Tong, the guy who will be proposing that, is for Dashforce can help sponsor the fee for some people. The review committee will take a look. They'll give us suggestions about what they think are the best proposals and the ones that we could help sponsor. There will be a monetary cutoff. It's all still kind of being worked out about how big it will be, but probably somewhere between anything under 250. We're going to try to help. Dashforce will try to help sponsor those things if we see something that we like. Above 250 to 500, maybe 1,000, then we can help sponsor the proposal fee. Anything over that, I think it's best to just leave that to the master nodes. We don't want to centralize too much control or power to us. So I think anything over that needs to be something that the master nodes themselves decide. And as far as the fee itself, I don't know. I think it is too high right now. I think $100 would be a nice fee that would keep the riffraff out, as they say, and still allow plenty of people. If everybody should have $100 if you're going to have a proposal, and then you just ask for it back. But the proposal that had the actual fees, I did see that there was an issue if the price changes from month to month, it could throw it off. So I don't think there's any really complete solution just yet.
Although, to be honest, I think that dashes are just going to continue to go up. It might not be permanent, right? It might go up and down a little bit, but I think dashes turned out to be pretty stable and just on a pretty stable upward trajectory. I generally think that the fee right now is on the steep end of okay. I think it's a good idea. Personal opinion, I think it's a good idea that the higher the budget gets, right? The relatively higher the budget gets, the fee should sort of go up with that to a certain extent, because we want to make sure that the best, the most like slam dunk proposals are the ones that get through. The people who've done their homework the most, the people who have gotten together a pre-proposal, talked this through with a lot of people, the people that know they're not that they're going to succeed, right? And it seems like, I mean, what is it, $600-700 worth right now? That's not so high that no one can scrape it together if they know that they're going to pass, right? So I think that in the future it could possibly be lower. Like maybe when Dash is comfortably above 200, you'd want to lower it down to like 1 Dash or something. But it's really, unless it becomes exorbitant where no one can submit a proposal. But right now, it helps to have that thing where people can't just be like, yeah, I'm just going to try, see what happens. Like to where it's like, well, why don't you go make sure this is something that's worth passing? And as we've seen, like even now, there's a few that haven't gone through the proposals that are up right now. One of which is adaptive proposal fees, right? And it seems like it's doing its job right now pretty well.
Yeah, I think we we all have kind of a different view on it. Because I think 100 is good. I mean, maybe a little bit more. I think that would keep it down. But what do you guys say? Y'all think y'all like it 500?
Yeah, I'd say take it down to a 1 Dash soon. I'd be open to that, but it's not like an urgent thing.
I could do 1 Dash. Yeah, I think that would. Yeah, and like I say, we'll help sponsor some of the stuff. We can't help sponsor everything because it does add up really quickly. But we can pick the best ones and the ones that the community's liking, and yeah, things that are almost guaranteed to pass. And people, they may just not have. They may not have a. The proposal may not be huge, not big enough, and yeah, if there's anything that people need help with, we'll help them out.
All right, so the next question on there of did redenominating Dash. Ooh.
What is it? What is it?
As the main concern being people think 1 Dash is too expensive and they don't understand the divisibility. Like the laymen don't do that off the bat, right? So the idea would be, let's just call it something different. Let's just call like a Dash like what used to be 1,000 Dash or whatever, or well, let's call 1,000 Dash what used to be a Dash or whatever. Change the nomenclature so that people are like, that costs 5 Dash and you can just afford it. It's not because still what happens is people go into the Bitcoin universe, right? And they say, hey, I'd love to invest in Bitcoin, but like 2,400 is too high. I can't afford that. It's like, well, you could get some Bitcoin.
Let's be real about it. I mean, do people do that with Bitcoin at the moment and other currencies?
Yes.
I mean, like when we get to the Dash $1,000 mark, I mean, fingers crossed, then I think then obviously it's going to be something that's going to be more discussed. In terms of like an official comment and response to it, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Evan would react to them being called Duffs, because he seems to be taking a more of a backseat sort of approach now and letting Core do its thing. So I don't know.
What do you call them, Duffs? What do you call them, Duffs?
So the Duffs is probably, I'd probably say the 8th denomination, probably right at the end.
Yeah, it's like the Satoshi. Yeah.
So, but I've been like in betweens. I mean, I really don't hear anyone use that terminology really for Bitcoin as it stands now. So I don't really see it as a massive issue. However, the other issue with the proposal and the fees, everyone has an opinion on that, right?
Yeah.
So that is something that could be heavily debated. And I would, if I can, just go back to it, because just not to plug the website, but I think it will help me explain. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Oh, I remember that article.
Yeah,
I think I wrote it.
Exactly. So basically, this will help back what I was just trying to say previously. So basically, Brian mentioned a review committee. So this article is what the Dash DAO of the future might look like. So here's a diagram. So here's the main Dash DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. So in the top right-hand side, there's a review committee, and this is in discussion at the moment. So although the main cloud bubble is the main Dash DAO, that's its own that's decentralized, right? So that's no one. And these circles underneath, Dash Core and Dash Force, they're sub DAOs, and we're probably the two main sub DAOs at the moment, right? And under our sub DAOs, we've got these different people. So basically, what I'm eventually getting to is how future proposals could actually be handled, because where at the moment there's just one single gateway where people would just run the gauntlet, put a proposal up, up live, and they might get voted yes or no down by the masternodes. Where as we start attracting more high caliber, quality, big proposals, for example, like Alt 36, which is asking for huge sums of money, because Core, in terms of business adoption, really is looking for the big heavy hitters, right? So it's strange when you've got someone, a huge proposal, and then next to it you might have someone that wants, say, advertising for their YouTube channel when it's relatively small. It takes these masterminds a long time to read through all this stuff. So it's a case of not sort of decluttering it, but just having the real serious ones in there. Otherwise, anyone could get in there, right? So, and we want it to have an open barrier to everyone, but that barrier just is a commitment to show you how serious you are to that proposal.
Yes.
And there is
or also like how it shows how big league you are. And the thing is, even if we have only the most wonderful, committed, and will deliver contractors out there, the challenge you run into is you have like 1,000 proposals coming through, just so many proposals, and then the masternodes, no one masternode can possibly do more than glance at any of them. So then you have it just like voting for the clickbait titles or something like that, or just having a meltdown, not voting at all, right? Or only voting for the stuff their friends have told them about. So it should be that the field of proposals should be like, I don't know, say a dozen or so, that the masternodes can look through and then do research in, do back and forth question and answer with the proposal owners, and actually do their due diligence and make sure that they only vote for the right ones. And the problem is just volume. It's not just trying to get the seedy folks out of the picture. It's just you cannot afford all that time. So instead, you sort of break it down into sub-denominations, right? You get a bunch of people, you try to go to a particular group, a sub-DAO organization like Core or the Dash Force, right? Like my buddy decided he wanted to develop for Dash. Another one decided he wanted to help write like a scaling paper. So they both approached Core, and they both that's where they ended up. And I wanted to be part of something that didn't really have a role in Core. So I started working for the Dash Force, and then now the three of us are on partner status. And so I never submitted a proposal before, and don't really have plans to, because my needs were met without having to go it alone. I just plugged right in there. And then there's opportunities for a lot of other people to do the same. And then for people who just don't fit into any of those groups and want their own proposal, they should probably talk to the review committee first, so that then they can get a general idea of what they should do with their proposal. Is it good? Is it bad? Should they do it? Or get their recommendations, so that even if there are a lot of proposals, the masternodes can say, all right, well, there are these 5 that are recommended by the review committee. I don't have to look into them too deeply because I know my other peers have already looked through thoroughly. So it's a whole way of just scaling this system that really it's what you make of it, right? You could just have it where it's everyone submitting proposals all over the place and is a complete shit show, right? You could have a shit show. But if we can properly scale it down this way, we can have like a whole vibrant ecosystem, much better than even the wonderful one we have right now.
Yes. So can you guys, hopefully you guys can still see the diagram. So just to reiterate what Joel was saying, so you have the prospective contractor. So on the right hand side, you have the master owners. So they've got 3 directions they could potentially take. So on the right hand side with the master owners, that is actually going directly for a proposal, because it's the master owners that vote on it. And what we're sort of proposing is, and what's in the works, is a review committee. So the second option would be for them to go to the review committee, which would be mostly made up of masternode owners, and then they can look into the proposal and see where it would best fit. So they could say, okay, well, you guys, I think you guys should go straight for a proposal. However, say, for example, it was decided that it was a blogger or perhaps a YouTube video person that wanted a small amount of money, and say it was like from up to $1,000. Now that might fit better under a sub DAO. And also, like Joel's excellent example of a developer. Now, if it's developing something that's beneficial to core, then obviously it would makes perfect sense for them to speak to core first and get routed to them first. And then if that doesn't work, then obviously they can come back and feel free to put in a proposal for themselves. So I hope that makes more sense and gives it a bit more clarity. Obviously, the review committee is still in discussion. If it is something that takes your particular interest, there is a thread on the Dash forums that's very active, and people are talking about ideas and what the process should be. But it is being looked at and it is being thought of, and yeah, it's exciting to see what's happened. And this is not a bad thing, guys. This is actually a really good thing, because Dash is growing. Just look at the level of the amount of proposals that we're getting submitted now. It's amazing. Just the article we did the other day, we got 2 Ripple gateways.
Oh yeah,
been done. I mean, that is huge, guys. So
yeah. I mean, just think.
Like I said,
this isn't. I'm gonna sort of. No, we're straying a little bit, but this is a very. It's just a very sort of like Dash feels moment. Just looking through all the proposals that got funded, right? And there's just so many, right? There's a meetup proposal got funded. Cryptocurrency conferences throughout Ukraine, right? That got funded. Digix.club's New Horizons. I admit I didn't look too closely into that. But then there's, of course, the Dash wallet. The biggest ones, right? Marketing happening in business event. 120 Dash for 1 month, a big marketing event in, I'd assume Cancun, right? Because the Bitcoiners submitted this. And then, obviously, we continuing crypto show sponsorship. Dash for newbies, that's in there too. Wait, I'm starting to run out of time just listing all these things, but let's think about, we got, of course, the core team funded, we got the Dash Force funded, and we got 2 Ripple gateways, right? We got an air show, we got a Circus City sponsorship, and Amanda Johnson is doing a wider adoption push campaign. And that's just like a few things just right off the bat. And then, as we already said, we left some money on the table. Like this is already large enough to support several larger sub DAO organizations. I mean, I can see the Dash Force expanding next cycle. I can see room for another similar organization springing up, and just between those 2, like those then 3, right? Those 2 in core. That's already a large functioning ecosystem, completely, each one the size of some of the major cryptocurrencies teams. I just read something the other day. I think it was today, actually. It was a post from like a few weeks ago that Litecoin announced that they had hired their first full-time developer.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be quiet for a second. Says we mourn our friends elsewhere in the cryptoverse. No problem. No hate. No hate.
No,
seriously, but that's
go ahead.
That's sad. Like how many does Dash Core team have? Like 60, something insane like that. And then there's all of us that are not in the coding realm. And I'm
still looking for more people.
Oh yeah, I'm sure projects like Ethereum have just coders everywhere. I'm pretty sure that they're well staffed with plenty of good people. But it's pretty much just Ethereum. I mean, Bitcoin has the core team of purportedly unfunded volunteer positions. There's not very many who are very active. And then in other, you can add some competing teams like Bitcoin Unlimited or whatever the SegWit plus 2 megabyte compromise team is going to be put together. But already just in the Dash core team, you got this. You got something that's basically as large or larger than all of Bitcoin. And then just to add more, we got some serious stuff going on. And Dash is, no pun intended with the air show thing, Dash is flying low under the radar right now. Just no one's quite seeing this complete surge that we're about to enter at some point, right? Everything is coming together so beautifully that we can fund an entire ecosystem. It could be just like cryptocurrency here and then Dash over here, and the size of the involvement in the community could be large enough to be able to be like the way before it's like, well, there's Bitcoin and there's the rest of cryptocurrency. It could very easily be Dash here and then Bitcoin and the rest of cryptocurrency in terms of the size of the teams involved in that.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, the Litecoin guys, they put out a roadmap a couple of weeks ago. I saw it on Twitter.
Nice, congrats.
And, well, yeah, it was their year roadmap, because you said something about they hired their first dev, and I read through it. It was pretty funny, I guess, reading through it, because their yearly roadmap read like one of our monthly roadmaps. And I posted a link to I think it was Fernando or somebody, maybe it was somebody had posted a summary on the Dash forum of what all we accomplished like in the last month. And yeah, it was very similar to what Litecoin was aspiring to do this whole year. We were accomplishing in a month. And yeah, I did notice that they were looking for funding, and they were looking for donations or something, and I just thought, wow, how sad.
Yeah, so like covering the news cycle with Dash is kind of exhausting. I mean, already I've spent most of the week just covering proposals, and then probably next week is going to be more proposal stuff. So that's like 2 weeks in June that are just covering what we funded. And then it's going to be just like another like week until it's time to start thinking about other proposals. And then it's just like it's a never ending.
There's the follow up to the proposals that have already come before, just to see how they've gone about. It's amazing.
Yes, we should start a spin-off news website and just call it Dash Force Proposal News. Just do nothing but talk about proposals in the ecosystem, because we never run out of stuff to do. All right, so questions. We get some questions from the comments. What do you guys think about this? Dashfund.org. So if you go to dashfund.org, it just seems like a little flowchart on a way to fund proposal fees that would allow some people to get their sort of guerrilla funding. I think it's a good idea. I think it's my view on this is it looks a little bit reactive to an obscenely high proposal fee. And where something like this might be necessary, maybe it might be time to lower the fee. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, we want the entry barrier to be open to everyone, because we have to remember Dash is global. We have so many different international communities, and we want everyone to play a part in that. So we don't want to exclude people. It's finding the right process to make it work. So, for example, Dashforce helps with meetups. Now, in the past, there's been many proposals for meetups, and relatively, it's a small amount of Dash. However, it's becoming increasing more, these meetups, and they're relatively small, and it can really grow the list of proposals out. So something like that could actually work quite good under a sub DAO. For example, Dashforce already help pay people if they're going to put on a meetup, for example. You can learn more about that from Brian if you are particularly interested. Well, it's not necessarily, and it's to help pay for the venue, materials, or what may be. So Brian could probably give a bit more details on that. But at the moment, I believe we have allocated 10 Dash a month to that available. So if you do want to...
Yeah, it's just we're switching it up a little bit. We're going to focus more on merchant adoption here starting this next cycle. But yeah, it's 2 Dash right now. It's probably going to be lower. That's for somebody who does one meetup a month. It was kind of started off as like a prize to get as many people. It's been really slow lately. We haven't seen the meetups have kind of fallen off just in general on the from the budget proposals and from Dash Force. But yeah, we're going to do meetups and presentations. The presentations, you're going to be able to get up to 8 Dash a month if you're doing like a weekly presentation or weekly meetup type thing. And then I guess we'll keep it at 2 until we get just to kickstart some of these meetups and get them going. We'll keep it at a high price and so we can get more of them going, because
definitely more to come.
It's really falling off.
Yeah. So
yeah, I hear people all the time talking, saying, "Hey, I'm going to do meetups. I'm going to do meetups." So there is stuff that's coming.
Yeah. So next question, right? What is the Ripple Gateway? So I kind of did a little reading into this. Obviously, I still have very superficial knowledge of this, but from my understanding, Ripple is a system, right? Ripple's a network, and XRP, which is the little Ripple token, is something. It's something that's used for transaction costs that then to exchange tokens over the network, right? So a Ripple Gateway, to me, seems like a less centralized form of exchange, sort of like a cryptocurrency exchange. Like, say you're going to go, you want to trade something on Poloniex or whatever. You're like, okay, well, I'm going to put my Dash in there, and then I could get Doge out, right? You could go and exchange it for that. So a Ripple Gateway could do a similar sort of thing, except you could say, someone say, I want to receive Doge, and then someone trades their Dash for Doge, and it gets to there. So it could use as a payment channel as well, right? So it's sort of, I guess it's healthiest to think of that as sort of like, imagine like an exchange, but much more streamlined, right?
Yeah, basically it's a payment network, and the way I look at it is like the Swift banking system. So Joel recently did a very good article on the 2 gateways, Ripple gateways for Dash that have been funded, and there's actually a good quote from that interview as well. So basically, if you think about currency exchange, right? You're sending a transaction from one side of the world to the other, right? And there has to be a middleman, right, to switch up that currency exchange. And normally it's quite expensive. And obviously we know personally from sending money about, it can be quite a cumbersome process. So when I think of Ripple, I think they're directly competing with the Swift legacy banking system. So where they're not taking the digital cash approach that Dash does, they're more of a facilitator. So I think the gateway example quote, I might have to actually look that up. Actually, Joel, look that up now on the article, because that really summed it up quite well. So basically, the gist of it was saying you could send money in whatever currency denomination, currency or cryptocurrency, and send it off to someone else. But in the middle, where normally there's a middleman that sorts that out, it will automatically see which currency or cryptocurrency has the lowest fee to enable that. Now, the person at one end and the finishing end don't know what that middle one is, because it automatically does that and looks for the cheapest option for you to be able to do.
Yes. Let me quote Andrea on this, one who submitted one of the proposals. He says, having Ripple gateways would allow Dash to participate in growing fiat integration projects without end users even realizing it. For example, a user may want to do a UAH payment to a Chinese supplier, and the supplier would want to get paid in CNY. So the Ripple payment routing would find the cheapest path to make it. And if there is a UAH to Dash and then CNI to Dash gateways, the payment would finally be settled in local currencies in Dash, right? So it'd be like, say dollars to pesos, right? You want to send someone dollars, except you're in Mexico, so you have pesos. So you take pesos and you send them, and without you even realizing it, it gets switched over into Dash, and then Dash gets switched over into dollars at the other end, right? So it's sort of and it wouldn't be sort of a predetermined kind of thing. It would be whichever one tended to be the most cheap and efficient way of sending it through, right? Whichever one, whatever rates, whatever demand, etc., and it would just go right through. So a very, very sort of advanced type of exchange, I would say. a lot of people try to compare Ripple to other cryptocurrencies because they're thinking they just see it on CoinMarketCap. It's like, oh well, it's just one of those. It's like, how is it better than the other things? It's like, well, are people really going to be sending XRP to each other, paying for their coffee in XRP? Probably not. It's not. That's not an accurate metaphor. It's more like, how would you compare something like Poloniex to something like Ripple? Like, how would Ripple, like, what are cryptocurrency exchanges going to do if Ripple really takes a big foothold? That'd be interesting to see.
The only problems I've seen with it is people complain that it's centralized. I know that there's also a pre-mine issue or how they distribute coins, but I guess it's centralized in some way, but not as centralized as the other exchanges. I don't know. I'm not familiar.
Obviously, here's me talking through a position of not that much education on the fact, but apparently the Ripple technology is decentralized, and for the tokens, a large portion of them are owned and locked down by the Ripple company, right? And there are a few Ripple. Again, here's where the terminology was decentralized versus centralized. There are a small amount of Ripple gateways that operate in the Ripple network that send things around, and they aren't owned by each other, but they're not like mom and pop kind of things. So it seems like if you're trying to think of Ripple as a cryptocurrency, then it would definitely be much more centralized than a lot of other options out there like Dash. But if you try to think of it as a processing network or like an exchange, it's much less centralized. So it's this weird thing. That's the thing about technology, right? There's so many interesting things coming out. We don't always have a place in a neat little slot for everything that we want to do. All right, another comment down here from Dash.red. Many Bitcoiners in Colombia are moving into Dash. Oh, great! You mean the daily minimum wage, or so, probably close to $5 a day? I know it's around like 5 or so in Mexico, and that's about the average Bitcoin transaction fee right now. So, you just want to move your money around. You got to work an extra day. I can see why you want to move to Dash under those circumstances.
Let me say just one thing on the one last thing on the Ripple. It sounds a lot like this new the Prism thing from Shapeshift. They sound kind of similar. Well, I don't know if you can lose your money in Ripple.
Prism's more of like using Ethereum as a kind of contract, right, for a basket of currencies to make money over a time, where this is kind of one transaction to A to B sort of thing. So basically they're trying to compete with the Swift sort of banking system, but this is kind of more of an open source situation. So basically they can use it that way. So I think it's interesting, but at the same time, it kind of makes me think as well, because one of the gateways for us actually to get into cryptocurrency, and I think we're all on the same page, just us Three Amigos here, is that we were all interested in Bitcoin first. Well, mostly Bitcoiners first. And one of the things that really I found that was amazing, it was meant to be it was almost like revolutionary. It's like, wow, there's going to be a solution for the whole world, like for the unbanked of the world as well. And it was really exciting. And it seems like the way cryptocurrency sort of evolving now, places like Bitcoin stuff, they're kind of detracting from that, and they've lost that message some along the path on the way. And about half the world's adults in the world, I believe, are unbanked. I mean, that's a crazy thought to think of. So, I want a solution.
Represent.
Yeah, I want a solution for the world. The woman in Africa selling fruits and vegetables, on the street. Now, the crazy thing is, most of these people in third world countries, they don't have bank accounts, but they've got smartphones. And there's initiatives from places like even like Facebook and stuff. Do you remember that Facebook was doing these satellites and giving like free internet to the third world? So basically, I mean, even in not third world countries, if you go to the Philippines or Indonesia, it's free to go on Facebook because the internet's provided for free by Facebook. So
yeah,
there's all these things set in place for mobile phones, yet the banking or the money system still yet to catch up. And that's Satoshi Nakamoto's original vision. If you read his white papers, in the first paragraph, he states it very clearly. So a peer-to-peer network, free, independent of third-party private banks.
Yes,
So
that's been the thing that I've noticed is the problem with Bitcoin ended up being it was too free, it was too unowned, and so it was able to be taken and like if you own a project, whatever, if someone's involved, has ownership in there, if it starts not working for your needs, right? If it starts killing off your customer base, you freak out. You change it. You collectively, whoever you all are, does something about it. But with Bitcoin, there was a few different interests kind of jumping at it, and I mean, now that's why we have development ground to a halt, because no one cares who can't use it anymore, really, or not enough people, or the people who do care don't have control. And so then you have a bunch of cryptocurrencies jumping in with a lot of extra funding and control behind them, so you really soar where Bitcoin didn't. But in that way, crypto's gone corporate. We got a bunch of big entities like Ripple, Ethereum also, despite being technically decentralized, does have some fairly centralized elements, as was evidenced by the chain split to Ethereum Classic, when the development team essentially did what amounted to a bailout to DAO holders when the DAO project got robbed, basically. And you have a lot of like companies interested in this kind of stuff, throwing a lot of money into blockchains and smart contracts and things like that. A lot of big money going in here. But the problem is none of this big money goes to what can serve the poorest of the poor, because why they don't have money. It's kind of like screw the poor. There's a certain attitude. It's not necessarily screw the poor, but it makes economic sense that if you as a company are throwing money into something, it's to benefit you or people like you. And that's the thing that makes Dash different, is it has this ingrained proposal system, right? This ingrained treasury, this funding system that doesn't have to look for large corporate sponsors. It can just provide value to the world, right? Dash can be useful to anyone. And you don't need to go begging for corporate bailouts for any of this stuff, because we got our own money. Sorry. We're set to free the world, right?
One thing I wanted to say, we said something about Africa. Dash Force Africa is coming soon, as well as some other stuff going on in Africa. So yeah, you'll be seeing that coming up soon.
That sounds good to me. I mean, that sounds like a natural fit. You got a lot of people use mobile money or something like that would use like mobile phone apps to do their banking or their lack of banking, right? And it just seems to be just such a flip of a switch to something like Dash.
Yeah, what do they use now? It's like M-Pesa or something. They're in Africa.
Yes, there's something, I forget what it's called. Just called African mobile money.
Yes, it's almost like credit for your phone that they trade as a currency. It's amazing how it's growing. But
yes, the free market is so great, because anything 50 years ago, these people who had no access to a stable banking system, or whose currency got hyperinflated or whatever, they'd just be screwed. But now you got these other little hacks they can do. And that's with Dash, we have the opportunity to turn that ugly hack, the ugly survival hack, into something beautiful and efficient, to give the poorest of the poor in the third world the first world financial experience.
Yeah, and I think there's also the practicality issue as well, and that actually ties into one of the comments as well from Dash Red, saying he met with a couple Bitcoin vendors last night. And sorry, my phone was ringing then. And basically, there's a growing interest in Dash, especially because of the growing problems with Bitcoin transactions not completing. And that ties in nicely, because I wanted to make a little note of kind of my tweet of the week, which was from Bitcart, which we mentioned last week. And they sent out a tweet saying, due to Bitcoin's slow network, we recommend purchasing Amazon gift cards using Dash and not Bitcoin. So this is the practicality aspect that we're talking about. And interestingly enough, with our sister website, discoverdash.com, when it first launched, we was obviously looking for merchants to add to the website. And Brian, you won't have to mention the business that you contacted, but Brian emailed a couple merchants saying, hey, do you guys still accept Dash? Do you want to be added to the website map? And he had an interesting email sent back to him. Do you want to elaborate a bit more on that, Brian?
Yeah, let me see if I can try to find it. Yeah, let me look.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I did get okay.
Yeah, while you're looking at that, I can take care of this last thing over here. Well, what will it take to drive merchant/customer adoption for Dash? We're missing a lot of the basics, I think, but there's some projects moving forward in the correct direction. So, to my mind, there's two things mainly that are missing. One is enough places. It's like the chicken or the egg thing. Enough places you can already spend Dash. So then, because the infrastructure is already there, you just have a wallet. It's so easy to get a wallet. You can receive Dash, and then you can just spend it on things. The thing is, what can you spend it on? With BitCart, that's a big thing because now you can buy things off of Amazon. And is once you start having more services available for Dash, then you don't have to have a merchant solution. We don't have to have a very specific one. Now, in the real world, right, a lot of people want a point of sale system that can transfer their cryptocurrency into something that they use in their daily life, i.e. fiat in their bank account. So that's what Dash needs, is a sort of BitPay for Dash, right? And there's a point of sale system being worked on as we speak that would hopefully be able to get us moving in that direction.
Yeah, and please don't forget Dash Evolution, which will, although it's on the way, that will help cater to a lot of the problems, because there will be incentives for merchants to use it. One's not just the lower fees, but there'll be more solutions with that, whether it's accounting, whatever. It's adding to that system to add greater value than what our competitors could offer. It's interesting that normal cryptocurrency communities, they go against each other in this small little crypto bubble. But Dash in itself, we're going for the mainstream. We're going for everyone else. I see our competitors as Venmo, PayPal, and all these other big players, right? So if we want businesses to use Dash Evolution, we have to work along with that, and and make sure that we can cater to that by offering solutions. Now, I know Ryan gave his speech in Miami in January by saying, "Hey, look at what's worked in the past. Whenever you have a disruptive technology, there is paths to adoption that you need to take, and let's learn from those. Whether it's from the checkbook going to the credit card, or to the credit card going to PayPal." And most recently with PayPal, if you remember when PayPal first launched, they got business on board and they offered customers a discount to use it. And the advantage for those businesses to use PayPal was that it was a solution as a payment system for their e-commerce websites and brick and mortar as well. But let's focus online for now. And so they could offer discounts and all sorts of things. So that's going to greatly help. And don't forget about the DAPI, which people can create apps and stuff as well. So where you're going to have this evolution, you're going to have all these sort of links to all these merchants and stuff as well. It's going to be a really beautiful thing. But what I will say is that I do agree with you. And that was the inspiration and the driving force behind Discover Dash. You can't just rely on a couple features in the cryptocurrency and think everything's going to be hunky-dory and it's going to work for itself and grow into something magical. It doesn't work like that. You've got the chicken and the egg problem. You've got the user saying, well, what's the point of me using this if no businesses use it? And then the business is like, well, why should I accept this as a payment if no one owns it? So this happens all the time. But Dash is taking a really fresh approach to this. No other cryptocurrency is taking this approach. So just to go back to Discover Dash, this was the whole point behind it. It wasn't just have a beautiful map showing merchants to have a look at. I would like to eventually create a package on there where, say, for example, so the question was from Joe. So Joe, I would like to have a solution where you're out, you could be in a marketplace, or you could be in a shop, and you can say, hey, why didn't you accept Dash, right? And then they can say, well, we know owners of businesses are very busy people, right? They don't have time to read through pages of specifications and features or not. They just need simple solutions, simple, quick answers. And what I would like is for you guys to say, look, if you can just go to discover-dash.com, and then we can have like a how-to guide. So if you're an online business, you can integrate this into your business. If you're a brick and mortar store, we have a POS solution for you. And that is what I'm kind of working for. So basically, the features and functionality of the discover-dash.com website at the moment is more about just adding the merchant stuff at the moment. But eventually, I would like to have a startup business package, which will be like a how-to guide, right? So foot soldiers on the street that are going out there, anyone that's interested, they could just point you to an easy-to resource, whether it's an infographic or just a simple video showing how easy it is to implement and integrate into your business. And then secondary to that is also for meetups as well, because we have a feature for business owners on there to actually run events at their location if they're a brick and mortar store. So they're incentivized. So in their community, they can run, say, like a monthly meetup, and then, so they can run a monthly meetup, and people can come to the store, learn about Dash, and it's all been hosted from the website. So we'll have a meetup package as well. How to run a successful meetup, right? So whether it's promotional materials for flyers to hand out, because it's quite a daunting experience. If I said to you, Joe, all right, you have to do, you're passionate about Dash, and you want to do a meetup. So you get a coffee shop, right? You get 20 people together. Now, the day before, you're like, oh my God, what am I going to say to all these people? You don't have a presentation. You don't have anything really prepared. Perhaps you could use a presentation, a PowerPoint slide that Ryan Taylor used. These, for normal people, we need these solutions. And that's what we really want to conquer with discover-dash.com. So we will work on it, and we will keep pushing this forward. And I hope those solutions resonate with you and you can see the value in them. And also as well, if you have any input on that as well, feedback, we welcome it, because we're not doing this for ourselves. We're doing this for Dash, because that's the whole point of this. We need business adoption. It goes hand in hand. It's universal. You need to have users and you need to have businesses. And that's the one thing that's going to separate us from everyone. And the more we speed up adoption, the faster this whole thing's going to work. So, okay, my passionate rant, I'll kind of bring to a close. But,
well, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and I'll read this. I got this email pulled up here. I sent it to the main Slack. I'm not sure the name. Maybe Joel can help. Lane Farme. It's a Spanish name. It's a farm. They have
Farm.
Yeah, what he said.
French.
Yeah, so they have farm produce. It's all organic and stuff. And I was working on the Discover-Dash website, adding businesses, and I was reaching out to some of them to make sure that they were still taking Dash or what exact cryptocurrency they were taking. And I asked them if they took Bitcoin or Dash, this one particular farm one. And the response I got back was, yes, I will accept Dash as a payment for any farm produce. I would take Bitcoin, but it takes too long to receive a confirmation. And then he said, please let me know if it could help. So yeah, it's already the flippening or whatever is happening. So this is, y'all brought up an example. Here's another example of another business. They don't want to take Bitcoin. They want to take Dash because Bitcoin's too slow, too expensive. And let me say this one more thing about the meetups. If you just do any kind of meetup, as of right now and this next month, we're giving away a Dash. You don't have to jump through all the hoops and do all the stuff. Just host a meetup. You'll get a Dash, one Dash as a reward. And we gotta jumpstart those.
Yeah.
Yes. With that, I think that's a good note to end on. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll keep doing these. We'll keep polishing, keep making it better. We'll keep working on our hair, et cetera, et cetera. And thanks again for joining in, and I'll see you next Friday.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, you'll bring it to a close now. Thanks for joining us, and remember to have a great weekend and stay dashy. Take care. Bye-bye for now.